Hello, and welcome to the Blaston commentary series or something, where we talk about Blaston news, gameplay, just everything Blaston in general. We watch some of my gameplay, we critique it, and we just go into the commentary live, because scripts are for simps. Remember that. And this hour, well, we're starting with Thodor, everyone's favorite French-Canadian, Mr. I-Stop himself. Thodor was not ready for some clamp action with some Luma action, unfortunately. You can tell that that caught him off guard, so I gave him some time to breathe. Last episode, we talked about offense and the power of strong offense and what it really means. I was generally inspired after playing against 24 a couple times and watching his use of the Luma. The curve Luma to me seems like the future of high skill weapons. And that's where I wanted to invest my time. So I'm not very good at it right now, but I'm willing to put in the work to make it work. So this game with Thodor went pretty quick, so I didn't really get a ton of action in. But at least with today's gameplay, we're just going to be going through. It's going to be very similar to last time with a lot of clamping, but you're going to get to see some Luma action. Pretty bad Luma action, in my opinion, but Luma action nonetheless. As far as overarching commentary for the day, our topic, let's go ahead and talk about defense. So we talked about offense last week. Let's talk about defense, the state of defense. I think I will likely come up against some Novas and some shields here, and where defense is at, and the role that defense has traditionally played in Blaston, and how it's been perceived, you know, the perceptions and the controversies, and then where it is now. You know, many updates ago, you know, in a pre-crackdown world, the oldest meta that I can personally remember was Viper E and Hammer E. This was a long time ago, watching old Woody gameplay where it was like your oldest proto clamp. And I remember going up against that and getting absolutely smoked back then. So my solution was to move to a more defensive stance because I had trouble dodging it. And that's where Double Shields was born. And anybody who has played me or seen me talk in the Blaston community Discord knows that I loved me some Double Shields. Other people started to catch on, and Double Shields became very prevalent, especially around the time of Crackdown, and so there was this Double Shield meta, and eventually it was struck down hard in Quick Draw, and the balance shifted to offense, which is where we are now, and that's kind of what we talked about in the last episode. Now, defense is kind of in a weird place because the defense has gotten a couple buffs since Quick Draw, and there's no denying that, but so has offense. So it's almost like there is a fear of buffing defense too much. The yin and the yang that used to exist is gone. And I don't necessarily know if that's a great thing. I think, and I will agree to this point, I think technical skills like dodging and limited drop blocking should be encouraged more than shield use. I think that's a given. But when one of the shields, especially the beginner shield, is kind of, you know, not great, and even with another buff, it's still not great. That's a little bit of a problem, and of course I'm referring to the Cortex. So Aegis is fine, I think. Aegis is in a good place, but Your average player has to unlock it, and I think all weapons should have some good balance, regardless of whether or not they're a starting weapon or not. So, and right now, too, especially, you have Tank Nova, and Tank Nova is very strong on the defense end. Very, very strong. In fact, you can see me going up against it here, I believe. These are Tank Novas. So much so that I can't really see a reason to use Cortex once again. You either go 5 seconds with Cortex on your cooldown build, or you can go 7 seconds and essentially get what amounts to a mobile Cortex bunker hybrid. You just don't get the aerial countering capabilities that Cortex has. And maybe some pocket clearing utility, because that one thing that Cortex is decent at is clearing a path through wide projectile spreads. So, where Aegis is different than Tank Nova is Aegis is good for parrying. And that's one thing that was balanced extremely well too, and I don't think Aegis should really be changed at all. I don't think it should be nerfed. I don't think it should be buffed. I think it's in a good spot. But Cortex definitely needs some work. So, but you can see here with these Tank Novas, I have a couple options as I'm playing around. So, now you can see here dealing with in this game with Caitlyn, we're dealing with some Tank Novas, and where Tank Novas tend to struggle the most is with ellipse weapons. And the reason why is because ellipse weapons can just go around them. And where I think, and I've said many times in the Discord, I think Tank Novas require balance. And just because one weapon type goes around them and counters them very easily doesn't mean that they're not unbalanced. Tank Novas disproportionately affect players that don't use ellipse setups. And the other reason too is that they make the Cortex obsolete, because, well, I mean, each one of them have 85 health. You get 3 of them. And they can be rolled out defensively, so for cycling purposes, you can lay them out, and they last longer than a Cortex does. I think that's more health than a Cortex has, and a Cortex only lasts 3 seconds, and you have to hold it in one of your hands, so it reduces your damage potential. And each one of those Novas has damage potential on top of that, and they can hide your shots. So, I think for sacrificing 2 extra seconds for that potential is just a little too much. Personally, if you had to choose between Cortex and Tank Nova, it's a clear winner. So especially right there in that case, I had some trouble dealing with them, and I lost that round because I caught some Viper shots in the top of the shoulder, and I had trouble coming back. So I think there needs to be some tweaking, at least, somewhere with Tank Nova, because there is a certain philosophy that most weapons should take, and this has been discussed before in the Blaston Discord. But in Blaston, there are 3 types of weapons. You have offense, defense, and utility/trapping. And where some weapons can be versatile, I think a weapon starts to become overpowered when it goes too far in any 2 directions. That's when it becomes a problem. So a weapon can have attributes in any of the 3 categories, but if it goes too far in any 2 particular directions, that's when it can be a little bit skewed. So Nova, by its attribute, is a trapping slash defense weapon, but what happens is when you give it a ton of health, now it goes really far into the defense category, and it's still a trapping weapon because it's disruptive, and it's essentially still a landmine. 20 health is nothing to sneeze at. It's just as disruptive as 30 is, especially because it's harder to counter. So I think Tank Nova is very forgiving to be used, and that's the point. It's not like Bounce Nova where you kind of got to think your placements through, because people can still just wipe them out. Tank Nova just allows you to be a little bit brain dead with your placements. And it's not sort of what I was looking for in the buff in defense. Because defense, as a category of tools, can't be proactive. Defense has to be reactive. And Tank Novas are, or can be, proactive, because you can deploy them in advance to set up your combos. Shields, by their extension, are reactive, and you have to use them in response to somebody's, well, whatever they're doing to you. So just something to think about when it comes to defense in that regard. So here we have Tim. Of course, this is going to be a really tough match. Tim and I are pretty closely matched. I honestly don't know who's going to win right off the bat here, so we're just going to watch this live game play out. I think Tim here, he's using the Novas, so once again, we are going up against the Tank Novas. So let's see what we get. He's going back to those corners like I talked about. That is where his defense is absolutely the strongest. That corner defense. And those Tank Novas certainly are not helping the situation. At least in my case, trying to pick him out of those corners. So, something I need to be wary of as I'm fighting him. Now, as far as my loadup goes here too, I'm relying very heavily on drop blocking. I think the Luma bow has pretty decent weapon health, so that's a plus here. But you can see it's still not going very well. I haven't really gotten a ton of hits on him. And that's it. So another pretty stinging loss to Tim. Let's see if we can turn this around. It might not happen though. So we're going to start by setting up some clamping. Now Tim will usually start with his aerials first before setting up a clamp if he has the opportunity to. And then he goes into that very, very trademark right-handed Raptor E use. So trying to negate as much damage as we possibly can. Any bullets, so especially in a game like this, it is pure attrition, plain and simple. So any and all bullets that you can stop with any and all weapon drops or blocks, it helps you. You absolutely need to do it. So you'll notice this too, especially when he is pushing me into a corner, or he is unloading or mag dumping into my face. I will usually be trying to drop as many bullets out of my face as possible. You know, 5 damage saved might make the difference between life or death. It makes a difference. So I will definitely take whatever I can get. This match seems to be going a little bit better, but it's pretty close. And he's using those Tank Novas to cover his advance on those corner pushes. And here we got a pretty sticky situation. He's going back to those corners. I'm going to try to flush him out. We got a Hammer E spawn. Use a Hammer E to help stop a push. And my absolutely horrible Luma use as I'm trying my best to get those curves down. I swear eventually I get better with it, I think. At some point in my life. I get some pretty decent shots in. So, oh man, this is a close game. Oh boy. Jeez. So, yeah, you can see pretty much, personally, what I noticed with Tim is the only time you're going to be able to do a ton of damage to him is when he's in those corners. That's when you need to hurt him. He goes to a corner, he sticks his body out and keeps his head in. That's when you need to put the hurt on him. So there's that Raptor E. goes back for the Tank Nova, and I guess I just wasn't having it with the Luma in that case. Now, what's interesting about Tim's use of the Tank Nova in this case, he's using it a lot more proactively. And I think Tank Nova, personally, is used best when it's cycled. You gotta cycle it. Just lay it out and then go into your combos, because the person it's harder to deal with 3 Tank Novas than it is with 1. I know that's like, well, doy, come on, no wonder. But no, seriously, like, cover your advance with cover your combo, and then just go, because they either have to deal with the impending wall of purple death moving towards you or them, and then they have to deal with the combo that you're setting up right behind that wall. So that's where Tank Nova works best. Just use it proactively. Okay, so now Tim's got a little bit of a lead. We've got 30 seconds. We're going to try to set up another clamp here. He's getting some damage. Oh, we dropped the hammer E. It is not looking good. Oh man, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. Try to get one last clamp in. And this is looking like it's not going to be a winning game. And oh, hello. One lucky shot, and there it is. That was way too close for comfort. Way too close. So another great game with Tim. Like I said, him and I go back and forth a lot. It just depends on the day. Some days I've got it, some days I don't. All right. So moving on to the next set of matches. Let's go ahead and see who we get. As you know, in Q, there is the ever-present anxiety that you could get somebody that is like an Eldritchian horror, and they could completely annihilate you. You never know who's on the other side of that looking for opponent screen. It's always an ever-present danger. You might get Alpha Cupcake, you might get Ferret, or you might get JJ. Who knows? All right, we've got Herdage, the man himself, fellow meme lord. Let's see what Herdage has got today. So, Herdage looks like he is rocking a very similar build to mine, actually. I think he's expressed this in the Discord, but he is using a shield, and to be honest, as we've been talking about today, I don't think that's going to do him any favors. And that's not... Okay, look, already people are like, but you're Robo. Yeah. I'm like, I think with the amount of offense that we're pulling off in this build, the 0.8 seconds that the Aegis affords is not going to be enough. So we'll see how that plays out. So we'll start with some strong clamps, push him into a corner. He's got the Bounce Luma, the ever-hated Bounce Luma. You know, the Bounce Luma... I just think the collision needs to be nerfed, to be honest. And then maybe it wouldn't be so bad. That's really what it needs. And before somebody says the collision is what makes it special, bounce weapons shouldn't have strong collision, unless, I guess, the Nova would be the exception to this rule. But other than that, it really, if the projectile moves quickly, it shouldn't have strong collision, period. It just, you can't have it do too many things at one time. Sorry. It's just not how game balance works. So, now, one thing I'll often try to do, especially when someone throws a slow hammer nade behind me, is I'll try to clear out what, like I mentioned before, whatever damage you can negate, do it. So I'll take those weapons, rather than toss them at the opponent and give them the chance to grab my guns, I'll just dump them into a pellet or two. That is better than, you know, negating that potential damage behind me is better than possibly losing a gun and getting it grabbed. Man, dude, that Bounce Luma, this is the thing about, remember, consistent damage is better then is usually better than high damage. If you can get consistent damage off high damage, then you're a top player. That's the point. You know, that's why people who are really good with Vipers are scary. But if you're not really good with Vipers, or Curve Lumas for that matter, generally with the Bounce Luma, it affords you more chances to hit your opponent. And so more consistent damage is generally better than high damage. So you'll notice that Heritage was able to keep tracks with me, even though that I was actually putting some decent hits on him. All right, so we've got Tim again in for a fight of my life, for sure. All right, so he's starting with the aerials, as usual. Trying to use, and now typically I'll switch to the Raptor, because I'm going to try to negate his Wildcat push as best I can. I think the Raptor will generally do a better job of negating a Wildcat push than an Aegis will. And the reason for this is twofold. Is one, it lasts longer than 0.8 seconds in the time it takes me to mag dump the weapon. But two, there's a potential that I might actually counter push and do damage as my projectiles go into the enemy's, zone. So, I am team take that instead of Aegis. I know, controversial hot take of the day, but it's just my opinion. So he's still rocking the Tank Novas, and he's trying to box me into a corner with those Raptor shots. Looks like he's got a pretty good number on me at the moment. So it doesn't look like this is the round for me, unless I can pull off a very strong comeback with the Luma. This might be a wash of a round. We're going to use those Tank Novas to give him some cover. And there he comes with a Wildcat push. I'll also use the hammer to stop pushes. And it works very well in that regard, because there's also the potential too that you might hit the opponent. And there goes the round. So we'll see if we can pull this game from the clutches of defeat. All right, so we've got the Hammer E right out of the gate with the first spawn. That, especially with clamp builds, I think they depend, like your match will depend heavily on whether or not you get the Hammer E right out of the gate. Clamp builds, and especially, I mean, not right now because the tether sucks, but depending on where your tether spawns, if you're a tether player, if your tether gets like front spawn right out of the gate, that's a huge, like RNG, like it's going to make a huge difference out of your game, because right there I had both my hammers spawned in right as the match started, and I was able to put a ton of hurt on Tim right out of the gate. So my main combo was already ready to go. And I think a lot of people need to consider that in a game, well, in any given match, when they're looking at, who wins or whatever. I don't know. It's just something to think about. Just who got the good spawn, and I definitely got the good spawn on this one. Tim did not get a favorite spawn there, and it showed. So just consider that in future games when you're watching people play. All right, so there it is. Okay, so we still have a chance. Now it is tied up. So we'll see if RNGesus favors me one more time and bestows his blessings upon me. And it looks like he did. So we're going to go ahead and set up that clamping combo. And we got the nade right out of the gate. So not great for Tim. But he did have that Tank Nova, which definitely saved him in that corner push. And he knows that. So there he goes with the Wildcat push. The Wildcat push is definitely one of the more favored tactics in this meta, especially with the speedy Wildcat. And I don't think that the speedy Wildcat is overpowered, by the way, by any stretch of the imagination. Don't get it twisted. I think it is a great attachment. I just wish that the other attachments were as cool. I really do. So, all right. We've got him pinned in the corner there. We force him out of that corner. He's got some absolutely lightning fast dodging to get out from underneath that swarm of angry bees. Setting up an aerial. Toss up a weapon. Any one of those projectiles I can take out is a good thing. So if I can toss up one weapon and destroy a potential cluster of those, I'll do it. And then here comes, ooh, dangerous. Getting pushed into a corner and then getting hammer blasted, not the best. Okay, so really good raptor push there, and then a couple more wildcat hits. That will turn the tide of the game. And we'll come in with one last clamp. Hoping I can end this with a Luma. I don't remember if I did or not. This game is a couple days old. I'm just going back through a backlog, basically. I think I played it safe. Yeah, I just played it safe. Oh my goodness. That was way too close for comfort. Once again, another solid game with the man himself. Tim611, the world's best Australian. All right. Well, that's going to be it for today. That's all the gameplay I've got for today's commentary. Thank you so much for watching. And, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and yada, yada, yada. You guys know the drill. I've, not got a ton to say about that. Scripts are for simps. You know the drill. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching Blaston Commentary or Something with Robo President. And, yeah.